Nobody gets you ready for Utah football more than the KSL Sports Zone.
Ready.
It's a much-needed bye week for the Utes as they get set for the final stretch of the 25 season. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Covering the Utes better than anyone else. This is Ute Insider Steve Bartle of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake, Scott, Ben Anderson. It's time to talk some Utes. He covers the Utes for KSLSports.com. And Christian just told us he's got his video feed up, so you can actually see him at the YouTube or at KSLSports.com. And boy, do you want to see this guy.
I can't believe Christian let his own camera go to let Bartle on.
Oh, yeah, Christian is pretty into Christian.
On a bye week?
I got it, Christian. I got it. Hey,
wow.
Time change for tomorrow. We've got the college show with Christian Esparza. Starring Christian Esparza starting at 8 o'clock. And you can catch Real Golf Radio, or you might know it as Real Golf Radio, from 10 to noon.
If you haven't seen our stream lately, it's 3 boxes split up, but Christian's the big top box, and you and I have 2 little windows in the bottom, picture in picture.
We know.
But whatever.
We know. 8 o'clock tomorrow. Don't miss it. Covers the Utes for KSLSports.com. He's
You'll
our buddy.
get a push notification on your phone.
He's our buddy Steve Bartle. Hi, Steve.
What's up, fellas? How we doing?
You sound great, Steve. Thanks for jumping on. Hey, I saw you a little bit last night on the podcast. How has this second bye week gone for the Utes?
Yeah, I think it's gone really well. You know, it's I was talking with a couple people this week, and again, similar to the first bye week, rest has been the priority for Utah. And going into the bye week, they were in pretty good shape. Obviously, they've suffered some season-ending injuries and had some other guys with bumps and bruises and that sort of thing. But, you know, at this point of the season, compared to the previous 2 or 3, Utah's in really good shape when we're talking about the injury front and health. And so, you know, I think this bye week came at a really great time for Utah, right? You got through the first 2 phases of the schedule. You're now 7-2. You're ranked 13th in the college football playoff. This was a great time for Utah to have a bye to sort of reset and recharge essentially for these final 3 games of the season.
What's your take on these early college football playoff releases and polls and all that stuff? Do you put any stock into it?
No, I you know, we've learned over the last few years that, you know, there's a lot of talk, and the committee is in full control of what they want and who they want, you know, in the college football playoffs. So the next couple of weeks, you know, it's going to be fun to discuss where certain teams land in the ranking. But, you know, just kind of given the history of the committee and, you know, the week-to-week changes that we've seen, where it's just kind of like, okay, what's the logic here? What's the reasoning in trying to pick up what the committee is prioritizing, you know, not only year after year, but week to week, essentially. That's sort of been what the committee, sort of the mode of operation for the committee. And there's, you know, so I think it's great for Utah to be ranked 13th. But, you know, given the fact that we're still a month away from the ranking that truly matters at the end of the season, you know, there's a long way to go. And so, you know, it's just going to be important for Utah and all the other teams to just take care of business as best they can.
With that said, Steve, why is Utah ranked 13th? I mean, I'm with you. They have set up situations where USC could jump them, and there are storylines of Vandy who could jump them, or Virginia or Georgia Tech or whoever. But why are they ranked 13th? What do you think they've seen from Utah, especially recently, that gave them that ranking?
Yeah, I think when you have multiple wins in, you know, in the sort of dominating fashion that Utah has had this season, and outside of the 2 losses, each one of their wins have been in dominant fashion. So you've got 7 wins of pretty comfortable margin. Utah not only has you know, created a healthy margin on the scoreboard, but when you look at a lot of the metrics and a lot of the predictive metrics that are out there, Utah is showing up really strongly in a lot of those analytics, and that's the sort of thing that I think is helping Utah more than anything else. Is their performance? It's not fluky. This is Utah being as efficient as they can be offensively. Being stingy on defense. There's been a lot of talk of the defense struggling, but still at the end of the day, they're giving up less than just about 14 points a game. And that's pretty significant. So Utah is not only getting these big margins of victory, but they're doing so in pretty dominant fashion statistically across the board. So it's really impressive what they've been able to do. And then when you look at the two losses, obviously both of those come against two top 10 teams now in the ranking, with BYU at 7 and Texas Tech at 8. And you go back, you look at the Texas Tech result 34-10, but you remember that game was 13-10 with 8 minutes left to go. And then going on the road in the rivalry game and dropping that one by 3 points. I think those are the things that have helped Utah and what landed them there at 13. There's not a lot of really bad results. Obviously, the end result in the Tech game being what it was, the 24-point margin, sticks out. But I think the context there is maybe something that the committee factored into the conversation with Utah. So I think there's a lot of things that have put them there. And I think it's, again, I'm a broken record here, but it's going to be on them to continue to perform this way the rest of the season in these final 3 games, because you look at the rest of the schedule and there's not the obvious opportunity to add another quality win. So they've got to do it the way that they've done it so far this season, by winning pretty emphatically.
So earlier today, Steve, Ben and I were trying to pin down just how good the Raiders the Raiders offense is, and Ben went through a bunch of scores.
This is the Texas Tech Red Raiders.
The Raiders, that's what I said.
I was going to say the Raiders last night.
No,
that was pretty rough.
The Raiders in the Big 12, although very similar.
Yeah, I got you.
Very similar fan bases. Very, very similar. We were trying to pin down.
I'm out.
We're trying to pin down just how good the Raiders offense was, and Ben went through a bunch of scores, and they have been steamrolling teams much like the Utes, and I think you could kind of see the parallel here. My question to you is, how many good, not even great, how many good defenses are in the league?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think Texas Tech has a really good defense. They're really good.
Yeah, I agree. That's one.
Pressure controlling.
As much as that hurts.
Utah, sure. Utah, BYU for sure, with the way that they're able to generate takeaways. Arizona State is, I want to put them in this category because they've done a good job, but too many times they're right on that border.
The Raiders were that against, or the Sun Devils were that against the Raiders, but they were not that against Utah. So I don't know if I'm throwing the Devils in there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like there's a lot of results that make me believe Arizona State is good defense, but also some results have not been great for them.
Yep.
I think that's where I would put the list, to be honest, Jake. I think it's those 3, maybe Arizona State. I'm trying to think of.
I agree with you,
others.
by the way.
Arizona has sort of turned the corner, but yeah, it's really that in the Big 12.
I think there might only be 3 good teams in the Big 12. Is that too conservative?
No. Obviously it depends on how we define good, right? I think there are 3 teams that have obviously separated themselves in BYU, Texas Tech, and Utah. Are they good enough to be, in the playoff committee? I think they've done enough to this point to prove that they're that good. I think, we can sort of get into some of the definitions here. What do we define as good? But I think those 3 teams certainly have put themselves in the conversation among the best in the country this year, with the way that BYU is, taking care of business, right? At the end of the day, it's all about the wins and losses. It's not how you get it done, just as long as you get it done. Texas Tech taking care of business, in the same manner that Utah has, with pretty significant margins of victory. They've looked great, both offensively and defensively at times. And then Utah, again, just coming up short in those 2 matchups against Tech and BYU. But given the fact that those 2 teams are top 10 in the country right now. I think you feel really good about those three teams. It's just are there teams behind those three that can close the gap? Is Cincy, do we consider them good? I don't know that we do anymore. Arizona State, Iowa State, I thought those teams would be, in the conversation. Baylor, TCU as well, but they've just not taken care of business in certain games. And, you look at the resume and it's just not impressive. So yeah, I'm with you, Ben. I think it's those three, and it's by a pretty wide margin.
Steve, tell me the story of Creed Whittemore. Why wasn't he playing, and why is he playing now? Because Utah, let's face it, I mean, Ryan Davis has been great, but they've been looking for another receiver the whole season. So take me through what's the deal with Whittemore.
Yeah, they've got Ryan Davis, who's top 5 in the Big 12 in a number of receiving categories, top 2 really behind Jordan Tyson in a number of those. He's been really effective, and obviously with the chemistry that he and Dampier have, pretty significant. So Ryan Davis has been really good, and then Dallin Bentley has been pretty good throughout the season as a solid complement to Davis in the passing attack. But that other wide receiver spot, it's been a rotating cast of characters this season. It's been J.J. Buchanan at times. Larry Simmons had a moment there against Colorado with Bird Ficklin and connecting with him a couple times. And then Creed Whittemore hasn't played a whole lot this season. And, coming out of fall camp, after the first couple weeks, it sounded like he had a really tough time in fall camp with ball security issues, not just in terms of fumbles, but also, catching, converting targets into receptions and all of that sort of thing. It sounded like it was hard for Utah to trust him to go out and execute because he wasn't executing in fall camp. So, credit to him though, because he's stuck with it. He's continued to work. He's continued to put in the time and effort to earn an opportunity. And, he got some looks against Cincinnati last week. And, he had a fade route early on in the game that, he wasn't able to convert on in the end zone, but then got another opportunity late in the game to punch in a touchdown, which was really impressive. And so, yeah, I think Utah is obviously searching for, another complement to Ryan Davis and Dallin Bentley in the passing attack. And I think it's going to be interesting to see who takes advantage of these opportunities in the final 3 games. But it's still going to be kind of the rotation that we've seen. J.J. Buchanan, Larry Simmons, Tobias Merriweather, now that he's going to be returning from the injury report. And so, can Creed Whittemore continue to work his way into more opportunities based on what Kyle Whittingham said post-game, after Cincinnati, that he's helped his cause a lot, and getting into the end zone obviously helped as well. So I think we'll see him get some more opportunities, but that's going to be, I think, a pretty big key for Utah over these final 3 games, is finding another complement in the passing game to Davis and Bentley.
If you had to bet now, how many Big 12 teams make the playoff?
2. I feel comfortable with the Big 12 getting 2 in. What's fascinating is that, here we are November 7th, and, there's at least a path for the Big 12 to get 3 bids. And I think, if we had suggested that, throughout the offseason, that being a talking point, I think, a lot of people in the Big 12 would have jumped at the opportunity to have that as a thing for the conference to get 3 teams in. And I think, but again, I think with the way that the schedule set up for, BYU, Texas Tech, and Utah the rest of the way, and then you look at some of the teams, around Utah and Tech and BYU in the rankings, there's certainly potential for chaos for the Big 12 to get 3 in. There's also potential for those teams, mixed in around there to add quality wins to the resume to get to punch their ticket into the playoffs. So I think the Big 12 gets to, I feel good about that. Not great, but feel good. And there's at least an opportunity for the Big 12 to get 3 in this year, which would be huge for the conference.
All right, Steve, you've covered the Utes against the Cougs, and you've covered the Utes against the Raiders. Who do you think wins tomorrow?
Man, what a great matchup it's going to be. I think given the fact that the game is in Lubbock, that the home crowd is going to be juiced given the fact that ESPN College Game Day is there. I think Texas Tech wins, but I think what BYU has shown is that they're able to really muck up some games, make teams inefficient. And I think given the way that their defense sets up, where they're not necessarily concerned about getting to the quarterback, creating pressure, but dropping players into coverage and creating takeaways. With Bayron Morton, I was never super impressed with him. He is, to me, in my opinion, the weak link of that team. And the issue is there that he really struggles against pressure. So is he going to be able to do enough when not pressured in dissecting that BYU defense, or will BYU be able to create the takeaways that they have against all these other teams without generating pressure? That's going to be the key to me. So I think Texas Tech wins, but I think it's going to be a really competitive game. And I think with what we've seen, I would not be surprised if Tech gets a couple late scores like they have. They just seem to, find a way late in the fourth quarter to add a couple late scores to really push that margin. But I think this is going to be a really competitive game tomorrow, and I have Texas Tech winning.
What did you see from Utah men's basketball in their first game?
A lot of athleticism. That's what I saw. A lot of athleticism. It was definitely
guard play, right?
It was. And that was kind of the big thing was with Terrence Brown and Don McHenry, Utah has guards that I think are better suited for the Big 12 and the athleticism that you need. You need guards that can break down defenders, get into the paint, and kind of create defensive issues, right? Forcing rotations and driving kick opportunities. Utah didn't have that last year on the roster, and I think they've got two in Brown and McHenry. They've got what looks like a pretty solid spot-up shooter in Jacob Patrick. Keanu Dawes and Seydou Traore look to be really versatile forwards. Seydou Traore had 23 points on 9 of 14 shooting, really efficient. This is going to be important for Utah with Weber State coming to the Huntsman Center tomorrow night to continue to build confidence and moving forward. They've got a pretty easy slate the next 5 games. And then they'll face a couple tougher challenges. But this is going to be important for Utah to continue developing chemistry, confidence with this group. There's potential here, but yeah, I think there's some exciting pieces, but a long way to go for Utah this season.
Steve, we appreciate all of your fine work. Thank you very much. Enjoy your weekend without a game to cover.
Yeah, it'll be quite nice. Appreciate you fellas for having me on. I hope you guys finish the show quite strong and continue to show love to the Red Raider fan base.
Yeah, that's what we do here. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks,
You're
Steve.
the best. All right, there's our friend Steve Bartle. Does a great job covering the Utes for KSLSports.com.
He's got Texas Tech. I don't think because he's a Utah homer. He's not. I think because he's afraid of Texas Tech's fans coming after him.
Well,
I think that's rivalry talk. I think he's afraid for his
Steve, Bartle
life.
me this. He's afraid of the Raider fans?
Yeah.
Well, they do mug people, so there is that.
Be afraid of all. He get a tortilla to the face if he's not careful. Is that the Red Raiders?
Yeah.
Yeah, be careful.
Yeah, what a dumb tradition.
Put some scalding hot cheese in there, burn a man's face, and then you get a quesadilla.
BYU should really,
weapon.
They should really bring back popcorn popping. Do you remember when they did that? You don't? Oh, they used to sing popcorn popping on the apricot tree after the game.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do, Christian? You want me to read that Saturday liner again? All right.
It's the Christian Esparza show, 8 a.m. tomorrow.
What, did you erase the read off of the doc?
I did. We don't need
Christian
it anymore.
erased the read.
We don't need it anymore.
Shame.
I replaced it with something else. We have other things that need to be read.
Oh, man.
You read it. I checked it off. We don't need it anymore.
You can win big every Wednesday on the KSL Sports Zone with Win Ticket Wednesday. This Wednesday, win tickets to step into the magic at Holiday Lights at the ballpark at America First Square, a brand new immersive holiday tradition opening on November 14th. Reserve your tickets at the ballpark at afs.com and listen to the KSL Sports Zone all day on Wednesday for your chance to win. Stay tuned.
Bullying, man.
More next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Let's go!
Complete game coverage of the Cougars is right here on the KSL Sports Zone. It doesn't get much bigger than this. BYU and Texas Tech, your home for the best coverage of Cougar football, is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Join Hans and Scotty next Tuesday from noon to 3 at Sound Sleep Medical, 8941 South, 700 East in Sandy. We're going to talk a little bit Raider football with Don Williams, who covers the Raiders for the Lubbock Avalanche-Journal. We'll find out what he thinks about tomorrow night's big game, or tomorrow morning's big game.
Who do you think should feel good going into this game?
Oh, both teams, for sure.
You think one over the other?
No.
I think BYU should be feeling better about this game than Texas Tech. I think BYU is going to win this game. I think BYU should feel confident going into this game.
Well, yeah, they're 8-0. They should certainly have confidence, but there's reason for the Raiders to have confidence too.
Yeah, and Raiders have been really good, and you're at home, and that's all the excitement. You know, Utah felt better than Texas Tech probably going into that game as well, and Utah got crushed in the end, and Texas Tech escaped victorious. I get that Texas Tech is favored, but I don't know. If I'm BYU, I'm feeling pretty good about myself.
He covers the Red Raiders for the Lubbock Avalanche-Journal. He's Don Williams with us here on Jake and Ben. What's going on, Don? How are you?
Doing well, Jake and Ben. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well. We were just asking, who do you think should feel better going into this game? There's a bunch of momentum, obviously, for both of these teams, but how do you think Texas Tech is feeling about this game tomorrow morning?
I think Tech's feeling, confident. It's a team that really has a lot of experience, a lot of guys who are seniors and fifth-year seniors and whatnot. Of course, maybe kind of a key stat for Texas Tech this year is in those 8 wins, they've won all 8 games by at least 23 points. And so with the exception of, that game over at Arizona State, which ended with, just a fantastic drive by Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson to score the winning touchdown in the final minute. With the exception of that game, Tech hasn't really faced a whole lot of adversity this year. And then, you kind of couple that with this is a campus and a town that's always been rabid whenever one of its teams is doing good. We've seen it obviously a lot in basketball the last several years. Haven't seen it as much in football. But when you give Texas Tech and Lubbock people a football team to root for, they go nuts. And so the atmosphere here this week, and I'm sure tomorrow as well, will be pretty intense. So for all those reasons, I think Tech feels really good about where it's sitting.
What kind of game do you think we're in for, Don? Is it going to be kind of a slugfest, low score, or are we going to see a shootout?
I would say slugfest, low score. Joey McGuire this week said that this will be the best game in college football this week, and he said it will be the most physical game in college football this week. Tech is just so completely different from the stereotypical Texas Tech team. The stereotypical Texas Tech team is one that lights up the scoreboard, airs it out, scores a ton of points, gives up a ton of points, and wins or loses 52-49. And they're just not playing those kind of games this year. This team is led by its defense, and I think on the flip side, I think just looking at it from an outsider's perspective, outsider's point of view, I think Texas Tech. I think the thing that really jumps out to them, and the thing that they talked about this week, is how big and physical BYU is. And I know, me personally, I think defensive front and those linebackers really get your attention. And I think it's kind of also reflected in the fact that both of these teams ranked so high nationally in the FBS in turnover margin. I believe last I looked, BYU's tied for 3rd this week in turnover margin, and Texas Tech tied for 13th in turnover margin. In Tech's case, that was the difference last week, was they had 5 takeaways at Kansas State. And the guy to keep an eye on there is, Jacob Rodriguez has 7 7 forced fumbles, which leads the nation. And this guy has this distinctive. I mean, he punches the football, kind of picks and chooses the spots, but he punches out the football. If you have a guy kind of contained and 2, 3, 4 people around him, and he's in pretty good position to make a tackle, then he'll take his chances and punch the ball literally like a boxer. And it's come out a lot this year, and it's made a big difference. So long story short, to answer your question, I think it's going to be more of a 24-21, 27-24 kind of game.
Will Hammond against Utah was the better quarterback. Where are Texas Tech fans on Baron Morton as the leading signal caller?
Coming out of the Utah game, there was a chorus of people who wanted Will to be the starting quarterback. And there was actually some of that last year because Will's a high-profile recruit. Top 50 in the state of Texas, which if you're top 50 in the state of Texas, that's something because there's a ton of high school talent, college talent playing in high school football here. So it's one of those situations where anytime the starting quarterback, when you have the young blue chip recruit, anytime the older starting quarterback throws 2 incomplete passes, it feels like there are, okay, get Will Hammond should be the guy in there. Get Morton out of there. Hammond needs to be in. There was some of that, but then Will, after the Utah game, didn't play. He was kind of slower starting when he came in against Kansas a couple of weeks later. And then this game at Arizona State was not that great until the very end when he led a couple of touchdown drives. And so the chorus for Will pretty much largely died down and subsided. And then, of course, it became a moot point when he just suffered a season-ending knee injury on October 25th against Oklahoma State, torn ACL. And so, bad thing for him is, even on a 9-month timeline, that only puts him back at the beginning of fall camp next year. So, there's some, I think, kind of consternation internally about what's he going to be like in September next year if he doesn't have anything in spring practice or even summer, kind of conditioning workouts.
Before the season, we all heard about the big money being pumped into Texas Tech's football program. And fast forward to this week, we had Cody Campbell, who's head of the Board of Regents there at Texas Tech, on with our morning show. And I got to tell you, I was extremely impressed with him and kind of his mission, I guess, for lack of a better word. So can you catch our listeners up on Cody, his story, and the impact that he's had on not only Texas Tech football, but college football?
Well, he's a guy who's from West Texas. He grew up in a couple hours north of Lubbock. He's a third-generation Texas Tech football player because his dad played for Texas Tech and his grandfather played for Texas Tech. I believe his granddad was like on maybe the earliest Texas Tech football team back in the 1920s. He was not a very highly recruited player, but he was part of Mike Leach's first recruiting class. Came in here in the year 2000, and kind of like he has been successful in business, kind of starting from scratch. He was successful as a college football player, coming in as a unheralded recruit, and then being a 3-year starter. And he was starting offensive guard on when Michael Leach's teams really started getting it going, which I would say was 2002 and 2003 and 2004. Cody was a starter on those teams that were just lighting it up in a fashion of kind of like a Lavelle Edwards BYU team. And I guess I take a little bit of pride in saying I remember Cody was just so smart and well-spoken back then. I remember thinking, this is a guy who could become this is a guy who kind of has a feel of a guy who could become very successful in business and become a donor to this program. I said that about him when he was 22 years old. And lo and behold, you kind of look at what's happened now. He kind of course, has made a fortune in the oil and gas and land business, and then has been very because he played here, because the school means so much to him. he wanted to do everything he can to kind of pull Texas Tech football out of the doldrums that had been in for so long. And so, he has the means. And so he's, literally put his money where his mouth is. And he's also, because, again, of his the guy being really a sharp guy, he's the chairman of the Texas Tech Board of Regents at this moment. And so, and like you alluded to, he's even though he's obviously was a football player and his vested interest is really in football, he's kind of expanded that to have this feeling it's like it's really important, not just that, college football survives and prospers, but that the Olympic sports don't fall by the wayside at the same time. So that's kind of where his efforts are being directed outside of Texas Tech.
Do you expect this to be, I guess the first year in a long run of what this is going to look like for Texas Tech with him funding, the team and the transfer portal and kids coming in and out of high school? And do you think that's going to be, that they're going to be competitive, spending the most money amongst anyone in college football year after year?
I think they can be. And one thing I think to point out here is that Cody's not a one-man show in this, and he and his business partner John Sellers are not even a two-man show with it. There are, I would say, at least half a dozen guys or families who are also really strongly committed and big donors to this program. And so my answer to that would be, I think they will kind of spend at the top level as long as they're allowed to, as long as whatever the rules are that allow them to spend at a really high level. Because the team that they built this year, the House versus NCAA settlement terms went into effect on July the 1st. And after July the 1st, then, you went into kind of the salary cap, that $20.5 million that schools are allotted to spend. Well, Tech obviously was able to spend over and above that because most of these guys who, most of these big name transfers that they've gotten are guys whose deals were front loaded, and they got most of their money before July 1st. And so now, I guess it kind of remains to be seen what's the will schools be able to spend over and above that? What's this year's $20.5 million? I think next year will be like 22, something like that. Will schools still be able to spend over and above that amount? I think that's kind of what remains to be seen here.
Man, you mentioned Mike Leach and Lavelle Edwards before, and I used to work with Lavelle a little bit in his later years. He did some radio work for us, and to hear him first person tell the story of this annoying grad student that just kept hanging around his practices all the time, and then him eventually letting him stay and learn, and then obviously seeing where Mike Leach went with his career. I'd like to think both those guys are going to enjoy the game somewhere. Wherever they may be, they're going to enjoy it tomorrow.
Yeah, that's you very well put, exactly, because people talk about how Michael Leach kind of revolutionized offensive football, and as you just said, Michael learned so much of what so much of Mike's ideas kind of formulated there as a BYU student, where he watched. I'm 60 years old, so I remember vividly. The BYU Lavelle Edwards teams of the 70s, and heck, I remember Gary Schotte's the first BYU quarterback I remember. So I'm very, I think both of those guys obviously deserve the credit.
Legends, no doubt. Don, thank you for coming on with us. That was great. We really appreciate it. Enjoy the game tomorrow.
Yeah, enjoy the game.
All right, thanks, Jake. Thanks, Ben. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Don. Don Williams, Lubbock Avalanche-Journal.
I'm always curious with donors, and as we had him on earlier this week, not us, but DJ and PK, and how he seems to be a positive. His name Cody
Campbell.
Cody Campbell. You got to be careful. Because there are going to be some donors that fancy themselves Jerry Jones.
Sure.
That want to make all the decisions and want immediate results and want to interfere if anything goes counter to what they expect.
Well, in this case, Chad Campbell bought him lines, which is exactly what they needed.
Cody.
Or what did I say, Chad?
Chad.
Cody Campbell bought him offensive and defensive lines, which was pretty smart.
So we will. I'll be curious to see how that continues to go, especially if Texas Tech doesn't finish the season the way I guess you would hope, because there's still a chance that they finish the season with three losses, and that's a lot of money to spend on a 3-loss team that doesn't make the playoff.
All right, stay tuned. We wrap it up. Coming up next, Jake and Ben, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
It's another battle for the Aggies, and the KSL Sports Zone has it covered. The Aggies return home to Logan for a battle against the Nevada Wolfpack. Your home for all the play-by-play coverage of Aggie football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Let's lock in.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two niggas on the airways, talking sports. They got him Matrix and also loves his tie-dye. Ben's got style with his scarves. Oh my.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. God, now again, Christian? We have two other liners we have to read. Does this have to be first? God, okay, I guess. Kick things off 8 a.m. tomorrow with College Football Saturday as Christian Esparza stars alongside Alex Curie and Alex Nepolis. Did you really have to write it in that way?
In a supporting role.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Get ready for that showdown between number 7 BYU and number 8 Texas Tech. The pregame show will be better than the game. Then at 10 a.m., teed up with Bob Casper and Brian Taylor for something, whatever. That doesn't matter. Listen to Christian.
College football Christian.
8 to 10. I like that.
Yeah.
Car crash Christian becomes
College football
Christian. Also, Ethan Millard with Teton Wealth will be live in studio on Monday with Hans and Scotty to help with your retirement plan. Tune in or visit retireteton.com. Also, this segment is brought to you by Peach Doors and Windows. Amazing home transformations begin with Peach, where 5-star reviews are the norm. Call them today for your free in-home estimate, 801-566-1255. Peach Doors and Windows.
Where are you on 10 a.m. games? I know we both hate 8:15 games.
Oh, I'll take 10 over 8.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, 100 out of 100 times. No, I'm good on 10.
You guys have soccer tomorrow?
I like
you
it.
okay?
I got dance at 9, but,
Okay. Wrap it up.
Get back and make it happen.
We know 10 o'clock means the game kicks off at 10:40.
I'm guessing that
the NBA.
I'm guessing that people are less grumpy about 10 a.m. games after, like, who's still playing soccer? I mean, I think most people
it's pretty cold
It's
out.
pretty much done
You're
with
right.
Saturday soccer. Pee-wee playoffs are over. I know that.
Was Utah Texas Tech also 10 a.m.?
Yes.
That was the game, right? That was super early.
And that's the one people were complaining about because they were like, oh, I got to go to soccer and stuff. I think most of that is over.
I do think that is a weird wrinkle. I do think playing that early is difficult. I think that is a shakeup, especially when every BYU game this year has been 8 p.m.
See, I think the 8 p.m. is more of the shakeup than the 10.
That's fair.
If you talk to coaches, I think they love it.
At 10 a.m.?
10 a.m.
You get up and you get going.
You get up, you eat, you go, you warm up, and you go. Coaches, let me put it this way, in the 8 hours where they have to keep them penned up in a hotel,
Yeah,
there's so much that could happen.
there is. And you bring
work
them
with,
down and you feed them and you go through the walkthrough, but yeah,
but
it's a
then
lot.
it's just dead time, and they could be out vandalizing buildings or, I don't know why I picked that, but they could be out causing trouble or whatever. You and I both have worked with former players, one specifically Kyle Gunther, who had hilarious stories about what the team decided to do while they were sitting around forever in a hotel.
Yeah.
And it just, I got to imagine getting up and getting after it. I know coaches prefer that. I bet coaches prefer 10 to 5
Think
or
so?
3.
Huh.
Yeah, I do. I don't think going early affects anything. I mean, I think maybe you can make a body clock argument, but
yeah, that's where
I
it is.
don't-
That's the body clock. And you are going east, so
I
it's
don't
an
think-
hour earlier.
I
right?
don't think
that's
that
Central
matters.
Time Zone.
Yeah, I don't think that matters.
Okay.
I think it would be more of an effect for, let's say, if the Cougs were playing the Mountaineers in Provo at 8, where the Mountaineers are coming west, and it's 10 o'clock at night when they kick off the game.
I do think it's interesting that Cincinnati and who was it who got Arizona State? I know Arizona State's got the same time zone as does Colorado, but those night games against Utah have been brutal.
But yeah, Cincinnati, it's midnight before they even kick.
Yeah, right.
I would say that has more of an effect than the early part.
Weird wrinkles. I would love for this to be 1:30. That's the second kickoff window, right? I know, our time. Everything starts at 10 or 1:30. I would love this to be 1:30 just for everyone to be like on the same page. You got your morning started. Everyone's ready to go. Not even to have the conversation of is it too late or is it too early. But I'm thrilled for this game to be at 10 a.m. personally, where I can get up and throw it on and,
You know who else is thrilled?
College Football Christian.
Our star of College Football Saturday.
Yeah.
College Football Christian's been staying up till like 4 a.m. for the last
that is the other thing.
several months, and he's actually going to have a normal schedule coming up on Saturday.
1:30, you're going to be able to catch College Football Christian on the live feed. Where's the best place to watch it? I watch it on Twitter.
Yeah, I'd say Twitter or YouTube.
Okay.
It's the best place to catch him.
Get Christian at 8 a.m. coming up tomorrow.
Yeah. But you can also catch it right here on the Zone. Yeah.
Are you going to re-rack it after Real Golf Radio until you come on? So just you have Christian at least filling the gap until more Christian?
No, I would encourage the listeners to watch the game.
No, I would not. Listen to to this station all the time. We'll catch you up on what you missed.
Yeah. That's what we're heard. So
what
it's
are
our
you talking
job.
about? Are you chasing people away from Real Golf Radio, Christian? Brian Taylor should come in
after Real Golf.
Brian Taylor should come in and beat you to
Ellen
death.
Nordegren style. Elon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, good call.
Bring a 5-iron.
Brain Christian with a wedge. We love you, Brian, even if Christian doesn't.
We wouldn't survive if we lost the star of the station. Christian is part. So.
Hanson, Scotty, you're next.
Thanks,
Talk
College
on Monday.
Football Christian.
97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.